Well, we have found the secret to real estate agents, and apparently the secret does not lie at 8 o'clock. I'm going to need a bigger room. Okay, so welcome to our new practice session format. So obviously it's 9 o'clock, and each day is a different focus. Okay, today we're focused on geographic farming, and previously we have discussed that there's a 5-part strategy to geographic farming, right? Geographic farming is working a particular defined geographic area, like a neighborhood, okay? Not a zip code. Ain't nobody in this room gonna work a zip code. Does that make sense? Okay, why? It's too big. I mean, you could work a zip code, just like, let's talk about how much money you got to spend, right? Okay, so somebody like Mark Spain. So Mark's trying to work the entire city of Atlanta. You could. I mean, obviously he has. You just need to spend about $13-14 million a year. And as long as you're willing to spend that kind of money, come see me. It's fun developing marketing campaigns with that kind of budget. Love to sit down with you and show you how to do that. Who's at 10 to 15 million? Nobody? 5 to 10 million? 5 to 10 million? Okay. Well, let's get together right after this, okay? He's full of shit. 1 to 5.
No, I'm 5 to, I'm right now.
Production and money.
No, money spent on marketing campaign. Yeah, Casey's like, I spend 5 to 10 million right here. No, marketing budget, dollars spent on marketing yourself, 5 to 10. No, 5 to 10. 1 to 5, 500,000 to $1 million. You get the point? Okay. If you haven't raised your hand so far, you ain't doing a zip code. Okay. So it's not that you couldn't one day. You could. You start small and you build out. You start too big. You start trying to say, well, I'm working Roswell. You ain't working Roswell. Well, I think you'd probably need 1 to 1.5 million. So just let's sit down and talk about it. And if you do have $1 million that you can spend on marketing alone for the next 12 months, then I think you could become the dominant real estate agent in Roswell. But most of us don't have $1 million to do that. So we do it the other way. We start really small and we build it up. Make sense? Okay, good. How do you do that? First of all, it's 500 to 1,000 homes. If it's less than 500, there's not enough return on your investment. You're not going to make enough money to make it worth. Like I live in a neighborhood of 39 homes. Well, I could say I'm working my neighborhood, and that's really cute, except in 2021, we have had 0 houses put up for sale out of the 39 homes. So I guess it doesn't matter how good of a real estate agent I am if nobody wants to move. Why doesn't anybody want to move? There's only 39 homes. Only 5% of the population is even going to consider a move this year. So that would be 1.5. And that's not going to happen every year, right? Okay, so you need 500 to 1,000 homes. Does it need to be all in one neighborhood? It doesn't. Makes it easier. But I could say, well, like on the road I live off of, there's 3 or 4 neighborhoods that are much larger. Couldn't I work my neighborhood and those? I could. Here's what's needed next. I need data. I need names, phone numbers, and email addresses. Now, granted, we subscribe to Cole Realty Service. You can see Nicole at the front. And if you give her street names, she will go to Cole's and it will come back with names and phone numbers, a few email addresses. How many names and numbers? 50 to 60%. Okay? So, now here's a key thing. Some of you are in search of perfect. Some people, almost everybody in the room is going to say, well, if it doesn't have everybody, then it doesn't have any value at all. Well, nothing has everything. So stop being in search of perfect. It's not a bad place to start to build from, but it's not going to have very many email addresses. And even the data that it does have, the 50%, a lot of that's going to be compromised. It's old, it's out of date, it's not applicable anymore, right? So your percentage of, and if you don't have the contact data, then you have to tell me how you're going to reach them. Well, I could do direct mail. You could. And what do you do with the direct mail that comes to your home? Trash. So why is yours going to be any different to other people? Because it's you. My picture's on it. Who would throw away my picture? Everybody, very quickly, without even thinking about it. Who has that trash can in their garage that you just drop stuff in on your way back into the house? It's not even going in the door to the house, right? Apartment complexes put big trash cans at the mailboxes. Why do they do that?
Because nobody's going to take that stuff.
Nobody's going to take that stuff back into their apartment. They just throw it right in the trash can, right? Okay. You need data. Now, we're recording. So I'm going to encourage you to find appropriate ways of finding the data. I don't care how you get it. Get it. Okay? Beg, star. Hey, if you invite me over to your home, Yasleen, you invite me over to your home, which you never have, by the way. We'll talk about that later. Good answer. You leave your neighborhood directory laying out on the kitchen counter, I'm going to steal it. I will steal it. I'll bring it back to you one day. You'll find it in the cushions of your sofa one day. How did this get here? The damn kids. Yeah. You got to get the data, or you can't implement the strategy. And then I'm going to keep pounding on this every day of the week. You have to become the person that can implement this strategy. You have to become that person first, or you won't do it. Okay, now this is going to make more sense as we get into it. Okay, the 5-part strategy: daily phone calls, weekly emails, preferably video emails, a monthly newsletter, social media, and events. I'm going to talk to you about events today. Okay? Implement a part of the 5-part strategy. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Iris, bake a cake. Okay? Just don't put any sugar in it. I mean, you'll get something, won't you? When it comes out of the oven, it'll be something. It probably won't. Hey, Joanne, just bake a cake. Don't put any flour in it. We're going gluten-free. Okay? You'll get something. Hey, implement a part. Just leave one little bitty thing out. Well, you know, I'm mostly okay, but I don't like making phone calls. That's not me. Okay, don't do it then. Because God knows we won't do anything that makes us feel uncomfortable. Don't do it. I don't know what's going to happen. Who lives in a neighborhood? Okay, Lanier, I'll pick on you. Your hand was up first. What's the name of your neighborhood? River Mist. In River Mist, tell me the real estate agent that is implementing all 5 parts of the strategy. See, I don't even know what he was going to say, but then I did know what he was going to say. Does anybody in your neighborhood have a real estate agent that you think is implementing all 5 parts of the strategy? So what if you did? Well, there's other agents that live in my neighborhood, and then go back, crawl under the bed, and hide. Okay? Don't do anything because somebody else might already be doing it, yet nobody in the room Most of the hands went up when I asked the question if you live in a neighborhood, yet none of the hands went up about anybody that's implementing the 5 parts of the strategy. Lanier, in your neighborhood, what is the most you see out of other real estate agents?
Maybe it just sold Postcard. Not even many of those.
Other than that,
Never got a phone call, never got an email.
how many homes in your neighborhood?
512.
512. So that would qualify. Any idea how many homes have sold in the past year?
Almost 40.
40. Now, folks, average sales price,
375.
let's call that $10,000 per deal. 40. You got $400,000 in commissions in play out of one neighborhood. And what's the most you get from any real estate agent?
Postcard, maybe.
Maybe. Does that sound a little crazy to y'all? There's 400. Are there other real estate agents that live in your neighborhood that you're aware of? Several. Nobody doing shit. They think that they just live there and that's all they have to do. Now look, let's just take 30 seconds and get a good chuckle at ourselves. Do you see the horrible level of arrogance that is embedded within our industry? Well, I'm me, and I live here. I know all of you, which means I met you one time at a thing. Remember, I wave at you every time you drive by, and you dare to list your home with somebody else. Our level of arrogance is unbelievable. It's not laziness, it's arrogance. I think I'm so special that I wave at you whenever you drive by and I'm out walking the dog, and that means I'm the top of my incredible expert with you because it's me. Don't you know who I am? $400,000 in commissions available out of your neighborhood, and nobody does shit. How many homes in your?
108.
108. What's the most you see, the most active real estate agent in your area?
Me.
You, other than you.
Some lady from Wycott Realtors used to send out recipe cards, but that's about it.
So, what's her name?
I don't even know.
Then, if you needed to sell your house, how are you keep her recipe cards because either the recipes are so great or one day you think we might need to sell our home, so let's keep the recipe cards so we'll be able to get in contact with her.
Goes in the recycling bin before I go in the garage.
There's a certain level of crazy in our industry. Agents starving, hungry, want stuff, not getting it, right? And $400,000 available in your neighborhood and nobody does shit. Isn't that a certain kind of crazy? And they live there. Don't even tell me that your neighborhood produces some kind of directory or something. Where so in the neighborhood Jane and I used to live in, we used to live in Horseshoe Bend, which was, watch the level of crazy going on this planet. 1,400 homes. 130 sales a year, millions of dollars in commissions available every year. Every year in my mailbox, and I don't think you're legally allowed to do this, but I would come home and there was a directory of everybody's name, both husband, wife, name, phone number, email address, children's names, children's ages, pets' names, children's birthdays. I would look at this, I'm like, this is a freaking gold mine. And I knew of 17 real estate agents that I thought lived in there and thought they were working the neighborhood. And you might say, well, Mike, they just cut you out because you were in real estate. You really can't do that when you're working 1,400 homes. You can't go line by line going, okay, no, take Mike Prewett out because he's with Century 21. It just goes out to everybody. Never once did I get a Facebook ad directed at me. Did I get a phone call? Did I get a birthday card? Never once did I get shit except their little just sold, just listed postcards. I never got millions of dollars in commissions available. And what do I think? I think that was right here in Roswell. Well, I know lots of agents that are right here in Roswell that are going, I need to sell more homes because I got bills to pay. And I go, I live in a neighborhood that's got millions of dollars in commissions available every year, and you don't do shit. Okay, so let's talk about doing shit, okay? Okay. There's your 5-part strategy. Here's what you need. You need 500 to 1,000 homes. You need data. Which neighborhood would I pick to work? The one where I could get the data? Because without it, it's not impossible, it's just harder. Casey.
Question, so where I live, I've got several smaller neighborhoods. Are there problems with just kind of merging those?
No. It's a little bit, so Lanier's is going to be easier than yours because he can make one message for one community. Now you've got different communities, different.
Slightly different messages.
Yeah. So it's not impossible, it's just a little bit harder. But because it's harder means nobody else is going to do it. Here's the thing that I love about residential real estate. And I tell you this because I want you to learn to love this. Casey, because it's a little bit, nobody's doing shit with Lanier's neighborhood and yours would be harder. Well, they're definitely not going to do anything then. I don't want to do hard. I don't want to do harder. And I want each of you to go, oh, no, that's exactly what I want to do. The harder it is, the more I want to do it. Why? Because that makes everybody else will quit. You are going to have to be the person that can implement this. But let's take the 5th part, events. And the reason I did that is because it's December and it's like, if you can't come up with an event to do in December, we need to talk. Okay, events. These are 11 examples of things I've seen. I'm going to read them out to you because the board's mostly for me, okay? I know y'all can't read my writing. It's just up there to prompt me. You're going, what? I don't understand. What's that mean? Here's 11 different events I've seen people do with great success that will, look, nothing beats face-to-face. The other 4 are nice, but nothing beats face-to-face. That's your most effective method of communication. Events that I've seen agents do with high degrees of success. You have a yard of the month thing that you sponsor. Are there people that you know that live in your neighborhood that if they got yard of the month, they would blast pictures of that yard of the month sign all over the planet? Yeah, you know these people, right? What's the term for them these days? Karens? My yard is better than all of your yards. My house is better. You know these people. You might be one of them. I don't know. What's actually better than yard of the month are student of the month, athlete of the month. Recognize, watch. You're going anti-message in real estate. You're not saying, look at me, look at the awards I've won, look how great I am, look at me. Me. Look at my shoes, look at how special I am. No, you're going, hey, look at them. Who saw the interview with the Detroit Lions head football coach yesterday? Lanier, what was the message that he conveyed? They won their first game of the year. They suck, right? What was his message in the post-game news conference?
He kind of devoted the game ball towards the families and victims of the school shooting up in Michigan.
And I'm standing there watching that going, oh. They won their first game of the year. This guy's a rookie head coach. He should be like claiming attention, right? It's what they all do. It's what we all do. And instead, he says, I'm going to give the game ball to the families of the shooting victims at the high school up there. He just totally took it and shifted the focus off of him and the team and focused it back onto the community. And it was on every news sports program on the planet last night. And everybody's like, what a great guy. And I'm like, I don't know if he's a great guy or not, but that was smart. He got so much more attention. He got so much more attention by shifting the attention off of him and onto other people. There's a great lesson in that. Yard of the month, student of the month, athlete of the month. Well, how would I know? Make it up. I don't care. Or do an empirical survey and know who got the best grades last month. It's your contest. Holiday decorations or a tour of home. Bob Clarkson did a thing last year where he did a tour of, you drive by and see Christmas decorations in Roswell, and then you can vote on the top, and the top ones got a big award. That's a pretty good event. You could do the same thing in your neighborhood. Who has the most spectacular? Do you think that people, it's not me. Like if I have a wreath on my front door, it's because my wife put it up there. But people, like this is their thing, man. Like they spent all weekend, like 3 weeks in a row, and they were decorated before Halloween, right? This is their thing. When we lived in Horseshoe Bend, I think they still do this. There's one house every holiday, whether it's Easter or Christmas, whatever it is, it's crazy over the top. And the reason, you come to find out, they had a young child who died, and that was their way of remembering the child, right? Right. But it was crazy over the top. People that do that, they're not doing it to be shy, okay? Recognize them. Valentine's Day, come up with your thing. I just picked holidays. There's so much content out there. This is just 11 that I just came up with off the cuff. Easter egg hunt. I want you to point out an example where people hate the person that organized the Easter egg hunt for the little kids. Well, that's a Christian holiday, and we're not Christian. That might offend somebody. It's a freaking Easter egg hunt. What's Easter egg hunt? It's got anything to do with Jesus. Linear, you come from a church background. What's the relevance between Easter egg hunts and Jesus? There is none. But Easter egg hunts, a bunch of little kids dressed up cute with little baskets running around the field. Who hate that person that put that together? Mother's Day. Okay, now you have a choice when you get to some of this, okay? So, I've seen this. I'm going to clarify it. I haven't seen it. It was a really good idea that I was told was implemented, which turned out to not be true, along with a whole bunch of other stuff that turned out not to be true with this individual. But, still, embedded within tons of bullshit, every once in a while, still a good idea that I wish you really had implemented, okay? So, lived in a big neighborhood. Neighborhood puts out their own newsletter. If you live in a big neighborhood that puts out their own newsletter, don't do your own newsletter. Just buy space in theirs. They will absolutely. Debbie and Morgan lives in a huge neighborhood, and they put out their own, and for $2,500 a year, they can get a full page every month. Are you kidding me? It costs more than that to mail stuff out for a whole year to that size of the neighborhood. Now, don't make your page be an ad about you. Like, if you do this, you're fired. Just get out. Call me if you need to buy or sell a home this year. Oh my God, get out. It's so bad. But the idea is, hey, send me your favorite picture of your mom, and I'm going to make a collage and put it on my page. And at the bottom of the page is courtesy Mike Prewett, Century 21. If you did that in my neighborhood, my wife would absolutely send you her favorite picture of her mom. And the day the newsletter came in the mailbox, she'd stand there at the mailbox flipping through and then trying to find the picture of her mom. Dads, pets, kids, you parents, you're a sucker. I push your button as many times as I want to push your button. All I have to do is something for your son. Highlight your son. Not her. I don't need to do anything for her, but put her son in something, make him the student of the month. Oh my God, I'm the greatest human since Jesus that's ever been on the planet. You parents, Joanne, you're totally batshit crazy. Her kids are grown and she still acts like they're 5. Mom, your kids, they're so easy to manipulate. You parents are just boop, 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 boop. And in their brains, it's just dopamine hits, right? You might as well be giving them cocaine all the time. Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good. Mother's Day, school's out. Father's Day, 4th of July, school's back in. Halloween. Now, I'm just reading off significant days of the year to you. You make it your thing, right? Your thing, not somebody else's. And don't make it about you. God, that's just horrible. Make it about them. When you make it about me and my neighborhood, that makes you a good person. It's just like the football coach yesterday. Every other football coach in the league would have made that about him and his team. And he turned it right around on the school shooting victims in their community. And every news station on the planet's run. I must have seen this 20-some times since yesterday afternoon. Isn't he a great guy? I don't know. He could be the most manipulative person on the planet. He could have walked off that stage and go, watch this. That's going to get a lot of attention. Exactly. The term for it is Machiavellian. It looks sweet and innocent, but it's dastardly. Mm-hmm. Make it about your community. And pick events. Now, here's your challenge. If this is your thing or one of your verticals, it doesn't have to be your dominant target audience. It could just be one of the verticals that you have in your business. In that case, you don't need 1,000 homes. You might say, you have how many, Jeff?
108.
108. That's not a target audience. There's not enough business there. So that's about 4 or 5 transactions a year, and you're not going to capture all 4 or 5. That's not possible. You might get 1 or 2 out of the 5. 20%. 20% is pretty good market share. Coca-Cola only has 12. Well, 1 or 2, that doing it for you? Okay. It's one of his verticals. It's not the whole thing. But sit down with an annual calendar, 12 months. I'm going to get right back to a schedule. Because you can't plan any of this stuff 2 weeks in advance. I had somebody email me last week and say, what are some ideas I could do for Christmas? And I go, I got nothing for you. You can't do anything for Christmas at this point. I challenge you to buy Christmas presents for your family and get them in time. That question needed to be asked 6 to 12 months ago. So sit down with and you can't do everything. This is where, other than me, how many people have a household budget? Okay, now I'm going to ask the real question. How many people have a household budget that they stick to? Okay, if you don't, then you're just going to spend money on the next good idea that comes along in front of you, which is why people run advertising. You're just going to buy whatever makes sense at the time. Because you're not going to say, well, I only have X number of dollars to spend this month, and I've already spent it. So I would like that thing, but that'll have to wait till next month. It's not what American society does. I see it, I like it, I buy it. So the trick, I'll just give you a little side tip on this. The trick to stopping that is never have your computer device and your credit cards in the same place at the same time. Okay? Okay. 86% of all shopping carts online are abandoned. Anybody ever done that? You put things in the shopping cart and then you go, I'll come back, and you never do. Right. Don't keep your credit cards and your computer in the same place. Sit down with a 12-month calendar and plan out for if you're geographic farming, for the next 12 months, what are you going to do event-wise with your geographic farm? What's that going to be? For me, when I used to do this, one of the big things for me was 4th of July. I'm a 4th of July person. I'm not a Christmas person. I don't like Christmas. Ooh. I have my reasons why I don't like Christmas, mostly because Jesus wasn't born in December, all right? And if you put a manger scene up, Bill, and you put the wise men in your manger seat, you and I are going to get into it. There were no wise men in the manger. I love Christmas because I get to screw with people and stuff like that. Last year we met Jane's family at a restaurant up in the mountains for thing, and we sat right next to a window, and right outside the window was the restaurant's manger scene. And in the manger scene were 3 wise men. So when the waitress came over, I was like, can you ask your manager to stop by when he gets a chance? And my wife is like, oh, don't. The manager comes over, he goes, is everything okay? And I'm like, absolutely not. Your manger scene is not correct. Jesus was 4 to 5 years old before the wise men showed up. And you just get that stare like, are you crazy? But 4th of July was my thing. So I would buy these little American flags, about 6 inches tall, on a wooden stick, and I would buy some red, white, and blue business cards, and I would tape them to the stick. And this took a while, but I didn't have any money. And then I would get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I would walk the neighborhood, and I would stick them in the ground next to the mailbox. And it looked great. But you got to get up at 3, or you got to pay somebody to do it, and I didn't have any money, so I'd get up and do it. And all kinds of interesting things happen at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're doing that. You run into all kinds of animals. Yes. Apparently possum and raccoon, that's their time of day. You actually run into people, a lot of people. Now, why did I run into a lot of people at 4 o'clock in the morning on 4th of July? No, that could be Peachtree. So they're all out stretching out in their driveway. Now, you want a really lively interaction with people? Walk up on them at 4 o'clock in the morning while they're stretching out in their driveway. And they will, I promise you, they will come this far off the ground. And their first flash reaction is anger. What? Who are you? What are you doing here? And I'm like, I hold the flags up. I'm like, I'm putting flags out, see? And I'd point up the street, and their heart rate's starting to come back down a little bit, right? Well, you can imagine some grown man walks up on you at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they go, oh, that looks good. I'm like, yeah, it does look good. And then you got to get prepared. No matter what event you're doing, you have to get prepared for this. There's the lunatic fringe. I think my personal experience is about 10% of every community. So you have 1,000 homes in your neighborhood? 500. Okay. You got 50 people in your neighborhood that are batshit crazy. So it would work like this. One of the flags would lean over and touch the mailbox. Oh, here comes one of the crazy people. Light my phone up. You put an American flag against my mailbox, and that's a violation of federal law, and I insist that you come get it. I'm like, or you could just stand it back up. Or a flag fell over and the American flag was on the ground. You're desecrating the flag. Or you could just stand it back up, crazy man. Or you stepped on my grass to put your flag in. Who told you could do that? Or you could just pull it up, crazy man, right? Don't let the lunatic fringe shut you down. Just know, okay, you're the lunatic fringe. I expect it. There's 10% of you. They're crazy about everything. We had one guy in my old neighborhood that was fighting over the air rights over his house. Like, what? People are at the board meeting are like, what's he? I'm like, you have mineral rights and you have air rights? And they're like, we do? And I'm like, theoretically you do, but he has no ability to say, like, he's like, I'm calling the FAA because Delta flew over my house and I have rights all the way up into the universe directly above my house. I'm like, good luck with that. You're right. Anybody got a pill for this guy? That's the lunatic fringe. One of you in the room might be part of the lunatic fringe. Statistically, you are. And you're going, no, that guy's right. Nobody should ever be able to fly over my house. And if there's oil under my house, I ought to be able to put an oil well driller in my front yard. No, you can't do, you don't. Theoretically, you don't have these rights. You're crazy. Okay, don't let them shut you down. Events are 20% of the strategy. Pretty powerful. Powerful enough so some of you just want to do the events because it's fun. You love this shit. You're the events person. You'll do this stuff all the time, but you ain't doing the other stuff because that's boring, monotonous work. But going to parties, I'm the party guy. That's fine. Be the party guy. But you got to do the other stuff too. Or else when you show up to the party, I mean, Tom, you did an event with your daughter's school, right? And here's the thing. So what did you have? What was your little attraction?
I had the popcorn popper, and it was a movie night. They had the big inflatable screen on the soccer field.
Okay, so this wasn't what was important for Tom, but it will be important for you too. Tom, if you're not doing the other stuff with the fourth graders, then you're the creepy guy over there with a box of puppies going, come here, little girl, you want to pet my puppies? Don't be that guy. But if you're doing, that wasn't as funny as I meant for it to be. I got to creeped a whole bunch of people out with that. But see, if he doesn't do anything else and he just shows up at a school event and he's got a popcorn machine, that looks a little weird. Like it's out of context. Why are you doing that? Hey, daughter, don't go down there, okay? Stay away from, you're not allowed to go down to Tom's booth, okay? Let's just all stay away from Tom a little bit. In today's world, that's not crazy. There's a lot of weirdos out there. Don't be a weirdo. How do you not be a weirdo? Do the other stuff, and then when you do the events, it makes sense to people. Oh, that's Tom. Tom does this stuff. Tom's working this school. Lanier's working our neighborhood. We can always count on Lanier for whatever's going on in the neighborhood. Matter of fact, if we wanted to get a message out to everybody in the neighborhood, we'd be better off going to Lanier because he's better than we are at getting the message out to everybody. That's the guy you want to be. If you just pick one or two of these things, like if you just send a monthly newsletter, because then you didn't have to risk anything personally. Okay. You're just wasting time and money, but I guess it's better than not doing anything. I just wouldn't have any expectations that it's going to work. Make sense? Okay, sorry for going overtime on you today. Let's go to work.